What's up, everybody? Thank you for coming by the channel today. Today we're going to be taking a look at this. This is the first New American Standard Bible that I've ever reviewed, not for any particular reason. This is a great translation of the Bible. Look at the cover on this thing. It's really beautiful. I'm a big blue fan. But this is the large print ultra-thin reference Bible, and the New American Standard Bible is pretty well known for being one of the closest or most literal word-for-word translations from Greek to English, from Greek and Hebrew to English that you can get. So there's a lot of NASB fans out there. I'm excited to start reviewing New American Standard Bibles for you guys. For those of you who are new here, my name is Steve. Welcome to Claiming Christianity. While you're here, you're going to be encouraged and equipped to be the Christian you claim to be. We're going to do that by reviewing solid tools and resources and going through Scripture to help make your day-to-day better and more Christ-focused. If that sounds like something you're interested in, hit that subscribe button and let's get into it. So let's get into this. So real quick, for those of you who have been following my channel and may not know, this happens to be the first New American Standard Bible I think that I've ever reviewed. I like the New American Standard translation. We're not going to get too much into the translation, but it is pretty well known for being the closest word-for-word translation, literal translation that you can find. So it's a great study tool. I just happen to not have any to review, but I do now. It's put out by the Lockman Foundation. I want to say thank you to the Lockman Foundation for sending me this so I can review it to you to show you what solid tools and resources are out there. So this is in blue leather text, and let me tell you, ladies and gents, I love the color of this Bible. Those of you that know me, I'm going to show you a little bit of the box here, the ISBN, while I chat. Those of you that know me know that I'm colorblind, so colors may look slightly different to me than they do to you, and my favorite color is blue. And I love this color. I really, really do. It's beautiful. And it feels nice in my hand, too. We'll get into that in just a minute. So it comes with just this basic... before we get into that, it retails for $37.99. And this is the 2020 text edition. So the 2020 text edition of the New American Standard Bible by the Lockman Foundation. This is the large print, ultra-thin reference. The other colors it comes in is blue and gray and brown in leather text. And then there's a black genuine leather at $65.99 and a black calfskin at $149.99. You can often find Bibles like this on sale, but those are the retail prices for you. It comes with this basic slipcover. I keep the slipcovers because I have handfuls of Bibles, and if I want to give one away, it's nice to have the cover. But this wouldn't offer all that much protection if you're going to stick it in a bag or something. Just to let you know that. Let's take a quick measurement of this as we get into the outside. You're looking at about 9.5 inches by about 6 3/4 inches by about an inch. Okay, so it's a fairly decent sized Bible, but it's thin. It's really thin. It's not heavy. It would work very nicely as your everyday carry, and you're going to see as we get into it, nice big font. So again, this is leather text. It's an imitation leather. It feels really nicely, and this is all stamped in. But I just think that it's pretty. I really do. This is one of the most unique blue colors that I've seen. You're going to get silver art gilting on the sides. You do get 2 ribbons, and they're long enough. Especially since the Bible's a little bit longer, they're long enough. A blue ribbon and a black ribbon. I really like when they give you 2 different ribbons. My magic number's 4, so the more the better. But it's better than just one. I will say that. I love having ribbons. And here the words are. This is like stamped in. So it's not raised per se. All these little lines and words are stamped in, and you're going to get Holy Bible, New American Standard Bible 2020. That's nice that it tells you the text edition there. Large print, ultra-thin reference, NASB, and the Lockman Foundation. The Lockman Foundation puts out the New American Standard Bible. And on the inside, you're just going to get a paste-down liner. Pretty basic, as far as the liner goes. And it is Smith sewn. That's important. That's important to know because most Bibles these days are, and sewn bindings also they tend to last quite a bit longer than non-sewn bindings. So you shouldn't have too much trouble with longevity when it comes to this Bible. These are 10 millimeter satin ribbons. And I'll say this as we get in, I'll show you in just a minute when we get into Genesis. It does lay pretty flat for being an imitation leather, but it's not completely flat, especially in the beginning with some of these cardboard pages. But listen here, I know you guys that watch, that are familiar with this channel know how passionate I am about the presentation page. And look, it has a presentation page. Sorry about that, my light keeps going off. It has a presentation page, but not only does it have a presentation page, it has a family records section. I love stuff like this because you never know who's going to have your Bible 100 years from now, your great-great-great-great-grandson or daughter, and they're reading through and they want to know a little bit more about your life. So jot down notes, tell them about your marriages, your family trees. These sections are fantastic, and I wish more Bibles would include them in. So Lockman Foundation, thank you for including that. And what relatively is an inexpensive Bible at $37.99. That's a great feature in my opinion. All right, so I told you we're in Genesis here and we're almost laying flat. Like that's not too bad in reality. But let's take a look at the contents before we get too into it here. Just a basic table of contents, the 66 books of the canon, and then it'll tell you you're going to get a foreword and a basic explanation of the format and abbreviations. We'll take a look quickly at that. And your legal information for those of you who might be interested. All right, you're going to get your foreword, and generally what's here is translation philosophy and notes, why they translated certain things the way they did, how that process went for them. And I think that that's something you should read through in every translation that you have. Maybe not every Bible that you have, but you should be somewhat familiar with why they translated it the way they translated it. And then, what abbreviations did they use that might be unique to them. That's good stuff to know as you read through and study the Bible. And then you get into the text. I like to use the term beautifully simple. Sometimes in study Bibles, you get so much information in there that it clutters up the page. I use my study Bibles as reference tools. So if you're just looking to sit down and read, this might be a great option for you. It even has a little bit of room in the margins. This is a nice 10-point font. Again, this is the large print Ultrathin reference Bible. And that's a nice big 10-point font, and it's line matched. This is a great section to show you that because you can see the lines behind it. It's called ghosting there, which isn't that bad. There's always a little bit of ghosting in these blank spaces. But you can see that in where there's words, it's not going to really bother you. It is double column paragraph format, so 2-column paragraph format as opposed to verse by verse. And you're going to get your references down the center column and your footnotes at the bottom, or extra references as it were, but most pages don't need extra room for the references. So that's good to know. And actually the words, I almost said lyrics, the words for the footnotes here at the bottom, and they're really not that bad. Sometimes the footnotes can be so small that they're hard to read. This really isn't that bad. It's kind of nice to read through. If you might even be able to notice from all the way down there. Let me zoom in just a little bit as we look. You might even be able to notice as I flip through, even this far away, the verse numbers. See how the verse numbers are bold? I kind of like that. I prefer, just personally in my own everyday use Bible is verse by verse, so I can find the verses easier. Sometimes when it's paragraph format, I get a little bit lost. And the Lockman Foundation here has emboldened the verse numbers, and man, does that make them stand out. And I think that that's really, really nice. So I appreciate that. For me, it does not detract from reading, but it helps me to be able to read and study just a little bit better. So you guys know I like to flip open to Isaiah or Jeremiah. We have Isaiah today. And the reason is I can show you these two sections together. So you have just a regular paragraph format section right next to the poetic setting, so you can see the differences here. Poetic setting is also a good place to highlight what would be line matching. If you're unfamiliar with it, you can see the line behind it. matches right up, with the line on this side. And what that does is make it a little bit easier to read, a little bit easier on the eye, so it's not as cluttered up in between the lines here. You do have plenty of room to underline and to highlight. I mentioned this just a little bit earlier. You get a little bit of a margin. It's not copious. It's not a big, crazy big margin where you might be wanting to write paragraphs and paragraphs worth of information. So you might need an extra journal if that's what you like to do. We'll take a look just to show you that this is black letter text in the Gospels here. For some people, they have a problem. These days, I just did a review a week or two ago by Humble Lamb that was blue letter text, and I love it. I've been talking about it since I got this Bible. It was fantastic because I can't really see a lot of red letter. It has to be the exact right color red because I'm colorblind. I know some of you out there have that same problem. So if that's a problem for you, you're not going to have a problem with the black letter text. Now, the paper is on the thin side, but this is an ultra-thin Bible. That being said, it's not too thin. Sometimes Bible paper gets so thin on these thin line Bibles that, man, you feel like when you flip it, you're going to rip it. That's not a problem here. It's just thin enough. I do not know what the GSM is. I looked it up and couldn't find it. I apologize about that. And my fingers aren't that great because of calluses at figuring out what the GSM is just by feeling it. But the paper is actually pretty nice. It's a nice bright white, so the words stand out. All right, now the back of this Bible, again, this is the first NASB, and so I don't have anything to compare it with as far as New American Standard Bibles go. Hopefully I will in the next couple of weeks. I'll get another one at some point, and I can see if they do this in every Bible that they have. But they have a topical index, first of all. I love topical indexes as opposed to, let's say, a concordance. Now, I don't have a problem with having a concordance in the back. They're handy to have, and they're useful. I personally just use an exhaustive concordance, so I rarely use a concordance in the Bible. This I would use. What's the difference, you ask? In a topical index, that's exactly what it is it's just giving you some of the main themes and or topics that you're going to find in the Bible and verses that you might want to go to look at for those. Instead of what a concordance would be is just this exact word. Where does this word occur in the Bible? And they'll give you a list of verses. This is more just themes, ideas. You want to know about apostle, you can do a little study on apostle. Sometimes it even gives you a little bit of a definition. I really appreciate that. I like topical indexes. I use those all the time. And then in the back, I haven't decided whether this is my favorite or not. I think that I like it. As I've been reviewing this, they have the book intros. Now, you're only going to get about a paragraph worth of an intro, but sometimes that's enough. You're going to get all the intros in one place here. So, we start at Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, right? Right in a row. They're all right here, and as opposed to in the Bible, in the beginning of the book. So that's something to know. It's handy to have them. I like when there's book intros. You need to have that information. I've just never seen it done in the back of the Bible before. And I think that I kind of like it, to be honest with you. And we get to the NASB, New American Standard Bible maps. Nice coloring. Again, very easy to see with the font and the words, the way that they printed them, especially with these lines on here. I'm a visual guy. I really like maps and charts. It really helps me learn, and I think they've done a good job with these. You can see here, there's copious amounts of information on some of these maps. I'm not going to call them charts. They're maps, but there's so much information on there. And again, I appreciate that. Jesus' ministry, it's going to give you discourses, Olivet discourse, where he was in different verses. And I think that's great. I think that's a great tool and a resource to have. And that's about it. Not that that's not a ton. There's a lot of great. There's not any extra pages to write on. I suppose you could write on this piece of cardstock if you wanted to. But this is a terrific thin line Bible. Thank you, Lockman Foundation, for sending me this so I can review it and let you all know what's out there and what tools and resources you have at your disposal to study and be engrossed in the Word of God. If you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer it with the information that I have. Hey, thank you guys for hanging in there with me today. I hope I've earned the privilege of your time. Again, I really like the New American Standard Bible. It's not a translation that I use all the time, but it is a legitimate tool and resource to help you study and dig deep in the Word, which as Christians is something that we should be doing. I want to say thank you to the Lockman Foundation for sending me this Bible so I can review it for you, to show you what's out there, what tools that are out there at our disposal, and what's going to show up in the mail when you order it from them. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of stores you can go into to purchase Bibles these days. Hey, we constantly have great reviews coming. We have a New King James Version chronological Bible coming out and that I'm really excited to go through and show you. And we've been doing live streams when we can, Mondays at 4:15. So make sure you're checking back with us, and don't forget, be who you claim to be.